joy. I'm allowing joy. I'm allowing joy. I'm becoming joy. As I make new choices every day, the joy inside me. I'm becoming joy in every way. I'm allowing joy, I'm allowing joy. The joy inside me. I'm allowing joy, I'm allowing joy. I'm becoming joy. Allow the joy. Allow the joy. I'm allowing joy, I'm allowing joy. The joy inside me. I'm allowing joy, I'm becoming joy. I create my future every day. My future every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world and whenever you are watching this. I know that many of you are here with us live today. Thank you for being here live. And I know that many of you will probably be catching this at some future point on the replay. So today's live broadcast is a little bit of a surprise to me and my team too. We just decided to do this, I think, less than 2 weeks ago. So it's nice to be with you on my Tuesday afternoon, and a couple of different reasons for doing the broadcast. Number one, we have an experience starting on October the 27th called Initiation. And several people have asked us, well, what's it about? And what does it mean that they're channeled broadcasts? So on the one hand, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just answering some of the questions that have come in. But on the other hand, we just thought, well, for those of you who aren't joining the course, don't want to take the course, but would like an experience of my channeling, this might be a good thing to do, because I'm reminded every now and then that some of you who know me for my work, either through the energy updates or through the Impact the World podcast, or perhaps through the music, you don't necessarily know my channeling work, which I've been doing for it's 23 years now, and I've been doing it for work in the world for 17 years. And it really underpins so much of my way of seeing the world, perceiving the world. It developed my intuition, and it also underpins a lot of my work as an energy intuitive. So I'm going to answer a few of the questions that came in and talk a little generally about channeling to you all. I'm sure some of you are very familiar with it. I know many of you who are watching this probably, you know me and my channeling. You may know other people's channeling. I think it's one of those things that it can be a little mystifying if you haven't had an experience of it. And it doesn't work for everybody. Like anything in life, we don't all enjoy certain sports or certain ways of being in the world. But channeling tends to, in my experience, be something that you are attracted to if you are looking to open the higher realms in and of yourself, connect more with your soul, connect more with your intuition. I noticed after several years of working as a public channeler that it might be information that some of the people thought they were coming for and hoping to get from the channels. But actually, what I witnessed was, oh, this is an osmosis process, meaning if you expose yourself regularly to channeling and it's something that shifts you, it will start to open up your own energy field and your own perception. And when I first met my guides, I was already fairly intuitive, but I A, didn't know that, and B, certainly didn't own that. I had no way of understanding or owning that. And I, like I think many at that time, we really separated spirituality from ourselves or intuitive powers. I certainly at that age, when I was 22, had a little bit of a hero worship around people who could do that kind of thing. Not channeling specifically, but any of the intuitive arts to me felt like this mystical other world. And I would love going for tarot readings or anything that tapped me into that energy. But I very much saw it as this big thing or this separate thing. And what channeling taught me is it's not separate at all. Those worlds and those realms are living alongside us every day. Whether we can see them, hear them, perceive them is a different matter. But channeling to me started to connect the whole world of energy that we live in. So I'll tell you about when I first met my guides. I think that was one of the first questions we had. So who are the Z's? Where are they from? How do they communicate with you? And what do they talk about? So who are the Z's? So I was on the London Underground train. I was 22 years old or 23. I can never remember exactly which age. And I was traveling to my job at the time in fundraising. And I was just kind of minding my own business, going through all my own thoughts in my head. They weren't good thoughts. They were quite negative. There was a lot of self-judgment. There was a lot of self-doubt. There was a lot of, oh, why isn't this working? And all that kind of stuff. And suddenly from the left, I heard this voice that said, that's an interesting theory, but you're wrong. And I'd never heard anything like this in my own, all the voices that we have in our head. I was very familiar with the voice of doubt, the voice of judgment, the voice of self-blame, the voice of blame of others. I knew who a lot of those characters were at that point, but this was something else. The voice came for me from about here positionally. So to the left of my body and a little diagonally above my head. Now, it's different for everybody. Not everybody is going to experience it in that way or in that position. But for me, to this day, that is my directional communication with them. And after I asked a few questions of this voice, when it was clear that it had opinions that were far higher and more helpful than the opinions flying around my own head, they explained to me that we're your guides and we've been with you the whole time. We tried to contact you when you were younger, but you couldn't really hear us, and then it got way worse for me in my teenage years, which I think is common for a lot of us, where I became more disconnected from soul in a certain way. And because I'd started to do a lot of healing work, therapeutic work, I was going to self-growth workshops, healing workshops, to try and help me unpack some of the wounding that I had really begun to identify in myself that was showing up in my life, that was getting in the way of relationships. They said, you were ready enough to hear us, but we've always been here. And I asked, well, do you have a name? And they said, well, we don't have names, but we know that humans like names and need names, so you can call me Zachary. I'm the lead spokesperson for the group, and I'll be the voice that you mostly speak to, but you can see us as a group. Because I, at that time, had only understood that channeled energies or entities was like one person, one thing. I'd heard of a few channelers at that time. It wasn't something I was very interested in, but I'd heard of them and I'd even seen one once. So the reason they're called the Z's is because a few different names came along over the years when I was publicly channeling. And there was a time when different members of the group would come forward and channel, and they all began with Z. So the people who followed my work started referring to them as the Z's. So at a certain point, they just went back to one singular voice, one collective. They say that they are 88 beings, but that they then extend into source. So source energy, so the universe, spirit. And why they said it's important for us to understand this is they said, yes, you are receiving information from us, our group, but we are also receiving information from other groups. And we're a voice of galactic source. So they said, this is the truth for all human beings. You know, we might think that we're one thing, but we're not. We're a conglomerate of all the experiences, all the relationships that we've had in our life. And today, we are all walking around the world being affected by the energy of the world, the energy of the people we interact with. So they said it's important for you to get away from this idea of a fixed entity or a fixed energy, because they said nothing is fixed like that. Everything is connected. So some of them had incarnated on Earth. Some of them had never incarnated on Earth. There were some angelics that I met in the group. They thought the Earth was very dark, by the way. A couple of times I channeled them and they were like, oh, it's very dark down here. It's very dense. And I thought that was very interesting, especially for sensitives, people who are highly angelic in your energy. It's why a lot of the density on this planet can feel very tough. They communicate with me. They, if you like, speak to me without me asking to speak to them, probably no more than maybe 6 times a year. It's rare when it happens, but when it happens, I pay attention. And they will tell me something that's important for me to hear. But since I do this for work and I'm regularly channeling them for groups, for our portal group, for recordings, for workshops like initiation, I'm constantly hearing what their take is on what's going on the planet right now, how we're moving through it, what's coming up. And another question was, what do they talk about? Well, they talk very much about life from the soul perspective. So they have some, I would say, understanding and sympathy for some of the stuff that we go through as human beings that can be tough, that's very specific to being incarnate as a human being. But they're very much seeing the overview, and they're very much seeing the broader journey, both of the lifetime that we're all in right now. You know, they'll talk about 2050 and they'll talk about this whole century. And they have been talking about this passage of time that we're in right now, 2017 to 2024. They've been talking to me about that period of time for over a decade and saying that it would be a very challenging time on Earth. Lots of challenges, lots of things for us to have to overcome. They also said it would be bringing with it a lot of high consciousness. So as old things that are no longer working and are outmoded are beginning to dismantle with and without a fight, because not everything is dismantling easily, as we're seeing, they said there will be this wave of innovation, and there will be more of you who are creating the future than ever before. And they said that those who identify as light workers, awakened souls, even though this will be a challenging period on Earth's history, they said it will be a period where many of you will feel more purposeful, more aligned with being here for this period of time than ever before. And you would be finding more about your voice, your heart, and your ability to create on the planet in a way that is more than just the old human way, bringing in soul energy, bringing in really an energy of love. Because they say that the highest octave in the universe is oneness, and oneness is rooted and based in love, which is harmonic and which connects everything and everyone. Now, what we're playing out on Earth, they say, is we're playing out issues of competition, scarcity, judgment, war, and they say that war plays out very subtly all the time. So yes, you can think of an actual war where people are wanting to kill and destroy each other, but they said there is a subtlety in that energy thread that's showing up in all of our lives. And they say that this is the period in history where that all becomes very reckoned with. And we have to not only face it and go through it, but we have to transform it. So they talk about a lot. They'll also talk about really pithy things sometimes, which is good. How did I learn to trust the information that I was hearing from the Z's? It was actually very easy for me to trust the information for myself because I could see the evidence immediately. So it wasn't even the information, although the information was fascinating. Like I would be having an issue, oh, what's going on with that person? And I remember I had an issue in my life at that time with someone I was in relationship with, and I was thinking it was all their fault. And they immediately were like, no, it's not their fault, it's your fault, and here's why. And they listed it out for me, and I would always write their words so that I could reread them and I could absorb them differently in the days that followed. And as soon as they said what was wrong with me, and it wasn't they were saying something's wrong with me, but it was why I was creating this issue in this relationship, it was like a revelation. And I didn't feel judged. They weren't telling me off. They weren't telling me I'd done anything wrong. That wouldn't have worked very well with me back then. But they were saying, this is what's going on underneath it. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, it lifted all the human weight for me, and it helped me see it from a different place. And then slowly but surely, I was able to change the dynamics and the behaviors. So I trusted them because they always shifted my awareness in a way that not only was helpful if I applied it in my life, but I could feel it in my body. Like I would go from this, what's going on with this person, and they would give me the information, and I would feel my body open up again. So I had a very strong relationship with them from the word go that was, it took me a minute to get my head around it for sure, because I wasn't thinking I would ever have this relationship with my guides. The bigger issue for me was telling other people that I was doing it, because I didn't want to deal with all the, no offense, the crap that can kind of go. We have such a wiring on our planet around judgment and war against spirit and intuition. It's laced into our society. I mean, you only have to go back to the witch trials and the witch hunts that were really only a few centuries ago to see how we still have this willingness to attack and judge and witch hunt anything to do with spirituality that hasn't been organized or sanctified. So the truth is, that's a very human way of looking at spirit. If you're really, really in touch with what's going on, we're in spirit all the time. Like someone once said to me, oh, how do you know if you're spiritual? And I went, are you alive? And they said, yes. And I went, then you're spiritual. Doesn't matter what your beliefs are. You're having a spiritual experience just because you're a soul in a human body. So for me, it took me about 5 years of testing out the Z's with certain friends, and certain friends coming to me for information from the Z's regularly, that when I was eventually gently pushed by a friend to do readings as a job, which I never thought I would do, I would say after about the first 100 or so readings that I did, which I was doing on a donation basis because that just kept it very easy for everyone, and I was an apprentice, and after about those first 100 readings and 100 validations, I then, it wasn't even that I trusted the information from the Z's, because I couldn't always stand by it. Like I didn't always understand what they were saying, and still to this day they can say things and I have to sit with that like anybody does. But what I witnessed was the ripple of love and empowerment that it was giving other people. And that was my biggest concern. Like I didn't want to do anything that was going to jeopardize anyone else. And also, because I'd been around the block spiritually, like spirituality and self-growth was my passion, and it was my hobby at the weekend and at night. And I witnessed a lot of people who were giving their power away to either channeling or to some guru or to some belief. And that never sat right with me, but it took many years for me to be able to be an advocate for telling people, I don't care what your guide told you to do. If you can't do it, if you don't feel good doing it, don't do it. You know, I'm not of the belief that they are superior to us. And they say that constantly. They say we are just in a different position. And we might be a human in some period in future time. And you will be us when you leave this body. So I also was very careful to, as I did my work, try and remind people that channeling can be a very, very powerful part of a balanced spiritual diet. But you don't want to just surrender yourself to channeling, because then you're actually divorcing yourself from your humanity. We can use the energy that comes from channeling that's working for us to enhance our lives. And I know that's definitely worked for me. So, are you channeling when you deliver the energy update? To deliver the energy update, I tune into the Z's and I ask them to give me the themes that are coming up that month. And I sometimes pop in a couple of my own that I'm noticing happening like right now, because I think it can be clarifying sometimes to get validation on what we're going through. So I get the headlines from them, and sometimes I'm very surprised. I'm like, whoa, didn't see that coming, or maybe I won't be in the group that's going to go through that. But then when I do the energy update, I always deliver it live and intuitively to the camera I'm recording it in. So I have the headlines and I stick them underneath the camera, and I go through the headlines one by one, but I let whatever words come through me as an energy intuitive. And so for me, being an energy intuitive is a little bit like, if they are at the top of the ladder and there are 8 rungs on the ladder, when I'm in energy intuitive mode, I'm kind of somewhere between 4 and 5. I'm still very much on the ground and on the earth in a very human way of seeing things, but I'm trying to bridge the 2 worlds. So that's the method that I teach from. It's kind of how I'm speaking to you all now. I can't see any of you. I'm looking at this camera, but I'm feeling what I am supposed to be the conduit for in words and energy for the group of you who have tuned in. And that's how I've been doing my work for, I don't know, 14 years. And that gets easier the more you do it. Trust me, I was very thrown by it at first and didn't know if it was working. But again, the more I witnessed it was working for people, the more I just carried on doing it. So, can you control when or how much the Z's are talking to you? No, I don't think I could control it. I don't know if I'd want to. I can control, I'm not in a trance when I'm channeling. So for example, when I channel in a moment, if I wanted to, I could stop it and I could I could walk off camera. Trust me, there have been several times I've channeled where I've come out from the channel and gone, oh wow, that was, you know, that's a lot for me to chew on. And but no, I can't control it. The only thing I do notice is that they're quite fast in that they get a lot of information out. So yeah, I don't know if I'd want to control it. And they actually have specified that they use my body and my intuitive empathic capabilities to track how the information is landing. So if they're going too fast and they get a read on that because they can feel that in the energy of the group, they'll slow it down or they'll change. And really what they're trying to do is not so much impart information, they're trying to shift vibration. And often information is how we do that. So they're not concerned with what you remember from their words. They are imparting and delivering something that will hopefully, and if it works for you, this is the experience, open you up so that you start to again feel connected to your higher self, your soul, your intuition. That's the point, really. Do you ask the Z's for guidance in your own life, or are they always teaching to a wider audience? I do ask them for guidance in my own life. Less so these days, because back when I started, I was not doing this as a job. So I was always asking them things. But I also realized I've calibrated more to their energy now. So I'm a bit more used to seeing, feeling, and perceiving things from their perspective, because it's been 17 years, no, 22 since I've had them with me. But the I actually learn a lot through the teaching to a wider audience too. So it's interesting to kind of have that running through your life. And last but not least, how do I know if a course like initiation is right for me? Um, I'll answer that question the way I would answer any question. Like if you were saying, is this person right for me? And this is just good practice. Does it feel like a yes in your body? Does it feel like a yes in your mind? If there are lots of roadblocks to initiation, don't do it. That none of us should be doing anything that is either difficult for us to do, is going to stretch us in a way that is not comfortable, and that can be in any way. That can be for your bank account, that can be for your energy in the next month in the case of initiation. Because the truth is, what we are meant to find ourselves and align ourselves with and in, we will. So if there's a part of you going, oh, I feel like I should do initiation, but I'm just not sure, I would say sit in being unsure, or sit in no, this isn't for me. I'm just happy to keep checking in on Lee the way I do. Because initiation is really going to be a container. It will run across not only 4 live broadcasts from the Z's, where I will basically be channeling for probably close to, if not an hour in each broadcast. There will also be calibration videos that I will do in the days in between. And why I'm doing these is, it's one thing to get a big dose of information from them and an energy shift. It's another thing to have some way of grounding it, understanding it, reflecting on it. So that's what I'll be doing in between each broadcast. I'll be talking you through some of the themes that came up, what that might be stirring in you, how you can move through it. They often give affirmations, and so not only do we have transcriptions of all of the broadcasts so that you can read the information, we often highlight certain affirmations for you. So even though you don't need to be there live to do initiation, like you might be saying, I really want to do this, but I'm really busy until December. It's fine. You can sign up and you can take it in December. You'll have all the material immediately. You'll have it all there. It is important to understand its energy work. It's a little different to just watching a 10-minute video on YouTube or reading half a paragraph. The journey of initiation is going to be something that moves those of us in it through a series of key stages energetically. And so if it feels like a yes to you, and you can find a way to do it in your life that doesn't feel stressful, overbearing, or like it's a barrier, great. We'd love to have you with us. And for those of you who aren't going to take it, I'm glad that you'll get to experience the Z's a little bit today. But what I will say about initiation is, I was in New Mexico this summer, and I was doing a lot of kind of deep diving for myself about the world situation, about what's going on, and kind of just tracking the next few years. I had a moment to step back from work for about 10 days. And I have a couple of very good healer friends who were also holding space with me and the Z's for some of these conversations. And it was during one of the conversations that they specifically gave the name initiation. They said, we want to speak on several topics, and this is the name, and there needs to be a week between each broadcast from us. So that was how it was conceived. So I'm still a little unsure exactly what they're going to be talking about every single week. But what I do know is it's very much about embodying your highest self in a new way for a new time. We've come through this passage of time in the last 18 months that has given us a lot of different things, including a bit of a view on the future and the diverging timelines that are being offered to us right now, and that we're either choosing or not choosing. And so what they want to do is give us a little bit more of a map as empowered and intuitive creators on the planet, with the kind of work that we do here, the kind of work that you're doing every day just through your energy field. It's something they talk about all the time. They say, you know, you have a very funny idea on your planet about work. They said, you're all working all the time. Your energy field is constantly in movement in and for yourself and your own development, and it's also transmitting energy and information to other people all the time. So I know many of you will identify with being someone either in your community or in your family who is perhaps holding a vibration that is a little different to a lot of the people that you're around. That's your work. That's part of your mission. It's part of why you're here at this time, not only to experience this period of history, but to help co-create a shift in consciousness. So that's really what they want to look at in initiation. They want to look at the energy templates of how we work as human beings. So we'll have them every Wednesday, and that will be a live broadcast, and then the replays will be available usually within 24 hours, and the transcriptions and everything usually within 48 hours, because that's a lot of work for our team, a lot of post-processing after, but it will all just keep coming to you, and it will be archived in the course, in the home of the course that we have for you. So it will be a ride that you can really take at your own pace, but if you want to be there for the live calls, and you can, you'll get a different energy hit. Yeah, so I think I've answered everything. Is there anything I haven't answered? Let me just check. No, I think we're good. Okay, so I'm going to channel. Oh, the one thing I will just throw in as well, I have commissioned Devor Bozique, my dear brother in music and sound, to create some special music for initiation that will accompany me in every live broadcast. So every time I'm channeling the Z's, we will have the music that Devor has created, which he and I spoke very closely about the planets and the frequencies that we wanted in that music. So it's quite a cosmic blend of music, frequency, and planetary energies that will be supporting each of the broadcasts, and it's different every time. So that will be another added element to the experience. But for now, I'm going to have some water, and then I'm going to grab my crystal, close my eyes. It will take me about usually 45 to 60 seconds to start channeling. Those of you who are in my portal community, you will be very used to this because we do this every month on our portal energy tune-up. But for today, I'm glad you could join us, especially if this is something that's new to you. Someone once asked me why I always have to drink water before channeling. A couple of reasons. I get very hot when I channel. My body gets very hot, and especially if I'm channeling for like an hour. But also it dehydrates me quite a lot, so I try and get as much water in before I start as I can, but not too much, because then I need to go to the toilet, which isn't convenient. Okay. Good. Welcome. Ha. Many curious souls here today, and also many of you who are what you might call a little long in the tooth when it comes to your light work on Earth. There are many of you here who are custodians of the Earth herself, and there are others among you who are custodians of shepherding humanity at this time. We must caution here about any hierarchical ideas that you might have around that last sentence, for all of you are shepherding each other. So, for example, the one who is good at cooking and makes cooking for others their purpose in life is shepherding humanity in that way. Those who are light workers are shepherding vibrational remedies and balance to the planet. So you have to be a little careful with the spiritual ego that can kick in, for humans have all been raised to have identification with what you would call the ego, what we would call the great separator. Your ego is the part of you that likes to see yourself as very separate from everyone else, or from a group of people. It is a beautiful illusion created by the human mind and has been ground in over many, many centuries of the conditioning that you have had as a humanity. And it is a place that can give you a quick payoff every now and then. Let's say you do something and you feel very pleased about it and you feel very pleased with yourself. You might feel quite good for about 5 minutes, maybe 10, maybe even 15 if you're a master at dragging that out. But then you will again feel quite empty. For your true purpose here as humans is connection. You are here to create, foster, and cultivate connection. Your design as a human being was to see how much light and connection you were capable of bringing to this planet, to all species on this planet, and to the Earth herself. Now, you are just one group on this planet at this time. So it is not that you are the most important group, but you are certainly at this moment the most influential. And that comes with its positives and its negatives. There are many ways that you as a human race are asleep at the wheel, although some of them are not the ways you think. You are told by many authorities how you are asleep at the wheel and what you are doing wrong, but all humans on the earth right now, including and more often than not those in authority positions, are asleep at the wheel in ways that are precarious for not so much the life of the earth herself, but the life of humans at large. So we say this not to scare you or alarm you, quite the opposite. You knew exactly what you were signing up for when you signed up for this period of Earth's history. You knew you were coming for a transition, and you knew you were coming to usher humanity from one phase and one way of being to another. And this is a long period of time, by the way. This is a period of time that will play out in Earth terms over 300 years. It began for all of you at the beginning of the 1900s. And so this is something that has now been at work for a little over 100 years on your Earth. And you are entering the rich middle right now. That is why these past few years have been quite tumultuous. You are entering stage 2 of 3 when it comes to a consciousness shift among humans on this planet. And a consciousness shift involves a lot of death. We do not mean physical death, although that is part of the manifestation that some of you are seeing right now. It requires a death of identity and egoic structure. And that is never comfortable for any of you, even those of you who say you love change, who say you love healing, who say you are here for spiritual growth and life. It is still very difficult to the human brain, mind, and construct of identity to watch parts of yourself die and change, to watch parts of your world die and change. So the reason we address this right now is we want you to understand that you can focus on what you are losing, or you can focus on what you are birthing. And depending on where your focus is on any given day, week, or month at this time on Earth, you are going to have wildly different experiences of how happy you are to be alive or not. So you can rally against all that you see going wrong. And some of you are designed to do this, by the way. You do it very well. So we are not trying to talk you out of that. Some of you are here as what you would call freedom fighters or justice fighters or truth fighters. And that is karmically wired into your soul. That is not just because you are seeing that it needs to be done by somebody. You are only seeing it needs to be done by somebody because it is your design. So be careful of getting martyry at everyone else around you when you do it. That will not be the way to increase your ranks. In fact, some of you who are freedom fighters, one of your biggest lessons has been how to connect with and, shall we say, help them to understand those who do not understand what you are fighting for. The truth is, all humans will respond well to love, even those who are fairly wounded. So yes, you have to be a little more patient around those who do not trust love or who have been wounded by love. They do not want a whole lot of love coming at them. But in general, all humans will respond well to love. They will not respond well to threats of any kind. They will either regress, recoil, pull back, or want to attack or fight you. You're seeing that right now. There has been this wave of fear spread across your planet in this last 2 years that has been very effective for certain agendas to be taking place. The question is, are you going to continue to live in that fear and focus on that fear, or are you here to be one of the midwives of the new consciousness on Earth? And we would say to you that for 80% plus of you watching and listening to this, the answer is yes, that is what you are here for. Now, being a midwife of new consciousness does not necessarily mean having to rally 800 people or write a book. Not at all. You are all positioned perfectly in your roles. There is the grandmother who is having a deep influence on her grandchild, who is going to go on to be part of this consciousness dance in a big way in his life. You are highly significant, and you know that your design and your focus is to give life, love, and guidance to this beautiful being and grandchild of yours. And that is your role. There are others whose design it is to mobilize 800 people or to write a book that could be read and absorbed by hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands or millions. It doesn't really matter what you do in form. We know that seems strange to say, for you live in a society that has asked you to become so seduced by form that you have forgotten spirit. It has been edited out of your education, your history. There are still some groups, cultures, and forces on the planet who still hold the wisdom of the elders, the wisdom of your spiritual history on Earth, your true spiritual history on Earth, that which includes all the details, doesn't give you the edited, modified version. There are still those of you keeping that flame alive. But there are many more of you right now who are beginning to wake up to your power as a soul and to wake up from the sleep that humanity has been asked to remain in. We do not mean to sound dramatic. The risk in us saying any sentence like this is you can start to rail against what is here right now. But we would ask you to lean deeply into the present. This present moment you are in contains all of the energy of support that you might need, both to bring yourself to experience a higher version of the life that you are living in perhaps now, to allow yourself to create a world and a life for yourself that is richer, that feels more fulfilling, that has more connection, more sense of purpose, more sense of community, whatever it is you feel you are missing. But you see, the human game and the human conditioning has been to convince you that once you are sat down in one of those boxes all by yourself, you cannot connect across the boxes to other people or to other aspects of yourself. This is the way that humans have been asked to diminish their light, diminish their power, forget the true nature of the soul on Earth. And so when you look at your humanity today, we understand there are lots of things that are not working, that need to change. Yes, we agree with you on that. But if you focus on that, only on that, you will not be able to do the birth work that you are here to do. So let's speak to you in two different groups. First of all, there are those of you who came to this broadcast or to any work like this, whether it is produced by Lee or other people, because you are feeling less than in your life. You feel less than who you want to be. You have repetitive cycles of, let's say, depression or angst or anxiety, and you are trying to pull yourself out from under, to move yourself to a place where you feel more expanded, more in love with your life, more able to flow with your life. You are having connections, manifestations, what we would call the magic of the soul in action for human beings. When things move into flow and a certain magic is allowed to guide your life more than before, perhaps not all of the time, 24/7, and it will depend on who you are interacting with, the state that you have going on in your own body at that time, your health, the way you are looking after yourself, the way you are looking after your nervous system and your mental health. There are so many factors that need to be looked at. So we are aware that some of you will be coming here because you are looking for us as a remedy. And we would like to say this to you. You have the power to create the changes you feel you need. But be very mindful that you will have to take a very strong approach to this. You cannot just, shall we say, have a 10-minute fix from something that makes you feel good, makes you feel a bit lighter, a bit brighter, and then a day later wonder why you are back down in the same contracted place without acknowledging that you are going to need to make some changes. Change some habits, change some patterns, figure out what it is that is weighing you down. The good news for all of you is this is a very good time in Earth's history for this understanding and knowledge. You are seeing a great deal of innovation and shared knowledge on the planet now, referring to so many ways that you as humans can heal yourselves in all different ways. This is a wonderful time in that regard. But it is very important for you to ask yourself, am I simply repairing myself through repetitive quick fixes? Or am I actually making a difference to the way I'm living by taking some broader strokes in the changes I am making, by getting the support I might need, by finding the minds or the researchers or the spiritual forces that help me connect to the parts of myself that I abandoned a long time ago? For what you are always dealing with when you feel low, unless it is because of your physical health, any physical health issues can deeply affect your spirit, your body chemistry, your ability to feel good. So always bear that in mind. But if you are not having serious physical issues, there are parts of yourself and your life that you have abandoned when you are feeling low, cut off, and like you are kept apart from your life and the life you want. There are parts of yourself that you have abandoned if this is your repetitive normal state. So you are going to need to figure out what those are. What is it that you need in your life? And you can write down a list of these things even now as you listen to us. You might write down, I need connection. I need joy. And writing down, I need joy, might make you feel even more depressed because you're like, well, how the hell am I supposed to find joy? I haven't felt joy for years. But that is the point. You are telling yourself, I will find joy. It might take me 1 year to figure this out, but I will find joy. And what often gets in the way of you making those commitments is as soon as you feel that fire and that power in your belly, you're immediately flooded with self-doubt. Can I? Should I? Am I allowed? I don't deserve it. And it's all of those voices in the human conditioned mind that we are here, among many other ways on the planet, to help you move beyond. We are never going to spend too long in those voices with you. We will honor them, we will see them, and we would encourage you to do the same. Do not deny them, do not judge them, just notice they are there and start to recognize, my biggest voice is self-doubt. And it comes time and time again. So what can I do to strengthen self-belief in my life? What can I do to strengthen self-trust? And consider yourself your own house that you are the architect of. Start writing lists about when did I first lose belief in myself? Who are the people in my life who have offered me self-belief? And who are the people in my life that eroded my self-belief? Start to see it. Because when you become aware of all of this, both emotionally and mentally, you can start to change it. But when you are living with the lights off to all of this stuff, which we understand is desirable, it is far easier sometimes to stay sitting in the depression that you have become somewhat acclimatized to, than to start to move the depression, because your fear about moving anything like a state of depression is that you are going to unearth emotions you are not comfortable with. But the truth is, for so many of you, it may have been the denial of your own connection to your emotions that led you into depression. And it can be very historic. So your fear is based on you from 10, 20, 30 years ago. And you have changed, and so has the world. So when you start to dig into this, especially at a time like this on Earth, where healing energy is fast, very fast, If you are willing to heal at this time on Earth, you will heal faster than you ever have in your life, because the consciousness on the planet has become far higher. And the, shall we say, low vibrational rumblings that are moving across the planet, showing up in anxiety, disorientation, confusion, sadness, fear, they are helping catalyze healing. So if you are willing to shift your state, you will shift your state. But you have to be willing on all levels, and you have to be willing to let it be, shall we say, difficult, perhaps sometimes unpleasant, perhaps sometimes uncomfortable, and usually these are the negotiation points that you let go of. When you start to notice it feels uncomfortable or unpleasant, you'll back away or find a reason to back away. So, to those of you who are feeling you came to this because you wanted to be lifted up, we want to remind you that you have the power and capacity to shift your state. And if hearing this from us is helping shift your state, good. But the question is, what can you now do to maintain it, to cultivate practices, people, and purpose in your life that will connect you back to this over and over again? That is how you will change the pattern that you have become accustomed to, which is a pattern of being smaller or more subdued than you would like. So, the other side of the group that we are speaking to today, you are ready, and you feel you are ready. In fact, some of you are so, shall we say, pissed off at all the things that have been going on in the last couple of years that you are more on fire than ever before in order to help bring a higher consciousness change to this planet. So that is good. Others among you do not have the same, shall we say, pissed offness. It is not in your wiring to go to anger or fire. No, you might be feeling love, gratitude, harmony, peace, and you want to share this with people, perhaps especially because you can see that many people are needing that right now more than ever before. It is a very tender time on Earth. So, trust your sense of purpose around how you are able to shift the consciousness on this planet. And to some of you, it might mean choosing 3 or 4 friends per week that you want to send a loving message to, a gift, or connect with in some way, so that that's your way of helping shift the vibration of your group. It might be that you are a creator and you are creating high vibrational experiences for others, and you are feeling more compelled to do that than ever before, more alive, more ready to do it. You are not as encumbered by the asteroid field that is on Earth right now energetically. You can think of it as a war between higher and lower states of being. A lower state of being simply being fear, a higher state of being love. But understand this, it is very easy, especially with the conditioned human mind, to think of good and bad, and it doesn't really work like that. You see, fear is at one end of the energy scale and love is at the other end of the energy scale. It's all connected. What you are trying to shift on the planet at this time is the lower vibrational states that have been embedded into your systems and that are right now revealing themselves more than ever before. So it is an ugly time if you are not used to seeing things very clearly. But for those of you we are speaking to, there is a sense of liberation for you at this time, not necessarily because you like all of the, let's say, new suffering that you are seeing in the world. Not at all. You are empathic to suffering and you do not want to see this happen, but you are somewhat relieved that something is happening on the planet, that finally there is a bit more of a tipping point around people's awareness, and it may be very slow, but you have to, shall we say, count your blessings. One person who is beginning to see things in a new way is a significant person on the planet. One person can be enough to spread that message to others. So there are many of you who are here to help seed higher consciousness on the planet. And you are doing that through your own evolution as a human being, and you are doing that through what you create and put out into the world. And that is a beautiful thing. All of you are working together. So we just spoke to you about 2 sides, if you like, or 2 positions in this group. Those of you that feel like you are trying to get yourself back to balance, and those of you who are managing to keep yourself in somewhat of a balance so that you can help bring balance to others. You're all connected. One is not better than the other. Humans go through cycles. Try and remember that you often go through a very big dark night of the soul before an epiphany, a comeback, or a complete transformation into a more abundant state of being on your planet. So, in the years to come, communication is going to be key. In the years to come, communication is going to be key. Communication is one of the greatest powers on earth right now. Your ability to communicate with each other, what you are communicating to each other, and your freedom to communicate with and to each other. You see, humans are a network. So even if there is someone in another country that you are not aware of, have no connection to, you are still alive at the same time as them, and so they are part of the group energy field you are in. So for many of you, communication in your personal lives, in your personal relationships, and with the work that you are doing in the world is going to be an enormous part of the way you shift consciousness. There are many other ways too, but the reason we have to bring communication up here is because we are speaking to a dominant group of communicators. Communication is a strength in this group who have gathered for this conversation. So it is your time to free up your voice, your throat, to allow that throat chakra of yours to connect more deeply with your heart and the intelligence of your third eye and your crown. So higher mind, higher intuition, higher communication, and higher heartedness. These are the 4 areas that we will be addressing in the coming weeks for initiation. But even if you are not taking the initiation journey, you will notice these are going to be areas you will be wanting to develop in the coming years, and that will be a big part of the development in the coming years. And they are part of the wave of incoming energy. So ask yourself, is there anything I wish to say in my life that I am not saying? And see what comes to you. See if anything comes. And now ask yourself, is there anything I wish to feel in life that I am not feeling right now? Is there anything I wish to feel in life that I am not feeling right now? And see if anything comes. Good. See how easy it is to connect with your higher self, your intuition. You simply have to be guided or given a framework, and then you learn to give yourself your own framework for the exact same purpose. And lastly, for today, before we depart, place one hand on your stomach and one hand on your heart chakra, palm face down. So the heart chakra is found in the center of the chest, the physical center of your chest. So one hand, palm face down on your heart chakra, one on your stomach, your navel. And just breathe. Feel the power and the energy inside this beautiful torso of yours. And just keep breathing. Yes, this human body of yours has its connection to the ancestry of all humans on the planet, including your birth family of origin. And yes, what lives inside your torso as an almighty power has been highly influenced by all individuals you have met in your life. But more than that, we want you to, as you hold your hands here and focus on your breathing, to feel the soul power inside your body that is uniquely yours for this incarnation. There is a soul inside you that has known many lifetimes, Many of you have had many lifetimes on Earth. And this soul chose to come here at this specific time in human history to not only be a part of the change for humanity on Earth, but more so to be a part of the energetic shifts in consciousness on Earth. And a human who is what you would call enlightened or awake, fully awake, is one who has the ability to live from both places most of the time. The realms of the soul and the realms of the human. You come from both. And this lifetime is your opportunity to be an incredible blend of the two at a time where humans are beginning to remember more and more en masse that there is more to life than the earth game they are being presented with right now. And many of you are here to be the midwives for that, as well as the recipients of it. Good. So, we salute you. It is not an easy task. It is tricky to be a human on Earth, and it is important to acknowledge that, not to feel depressed about it or sunk about it, to acknowledge it and to recognize that is why you need to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and find the things that can keep you connected to the higher vibrations that will keep you walking a path that you will feel more joy and balance about than you do suffering, disconnection, or disappointment. If any of those last three are dominant in your life, remember what we said about the healing energies on Earth right now. They are faster than ever before. They are more powerful than ever before. So make this coming year your year to heal and to uplift yourself. And for everyone else who is not feeling in that place, enjoy this experience you will have of uplifting both yourself but also others, so that you can all take this journey into a higher consciousness on the planet together. Good. You are one octave of love, all connected to each other, even though the human spell has made you forget. But now you get to remember. Good. In peace and in love to all. So if you haven't already, you can gently let your hands move from your heart chakra, your stomach. Good. Thank you for joining us today. And I hope you received something from it. I hope you remembered a bit more of yourself. The more any of us remember ourselves, the better it is for everyone. I know how grateful I am on the days that I forget myself, when someone else in the world brings that back to me, that vibration back to me. And I just want to pick up on something they said, which has really run through the energy updates a lot in the last couple of years. They explained that it's wonderful that self-care is something that's a bit more in our mindset as humans, but they said it's not a luxury. You know, it's something that we have to do. It's something that we have to be doing and taking care of right now in order to keep ourselves sustained and maintained, because the times are tricky energetically. Even if you're having a good time, you know, even if you can say, and I know many of you this is true for, you can say, I've never felt more alive or more on purpose. That's great. But still, it's very choppy waters out there. And of course, there are lots of people who that isn't the truth for. They're having a really rough time. So on the one hand, part of that can be people's awakening. And on the other hand, I know many of you will be serving people in whatever way you can or whatever way you do. But especially if that's your way and your role and you are a sensitive, you have to be taking care of your sensitivity right now, in whatever way that is for you. and it's different for everyone. Don't kick yourself because you're not doing yoga or meditating. Don't worry, you're not doing yoga or meditating. What does work for you? Do the thing that's working and start there rather than beating yourself up for what you think you should be doing because you read that someone else is doing it. We're all different. So I'm not saying don't try those things because they have many proven benefits for many people. But given we have been so conditioned to be hard on ourselves, I want any of you who are being hard on yourselves to recognize that's going to be your biggest breakthrough. If you can learn to not listen to the voice that wants to beat you up for what you're not doing, ask that voice where it came from, what does it need, why is it trying to protect me by beating me up? But equally, over here, start developing some habits and some practices that can really help you. So unless it's my time, and who knows, you never know when it's your time on Earth. I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be doing the energy updates every month. We'll still be putting out all of our free content that we always do. And it's, you know, a real joy to be able to do that and to have this wonderful team of creatives that I can employ to do that. And to those of you who are taking initiation, thank you for supporting everything that we do here, because that helps directly fund all of our free stuff. So if you would like to join us for the initiation journey, you can go to leeharrisenergy.com/initiation. You'll also see the links underneath the video here, or if you're live, it will be in the chat box. But on all the replays, we'll make sure that the links are underneath. And to everybody who joined us today, thank you. Sending you much love. Take good care of yourself. That way, you'll be able to be a better custodian of taking care of your mission on Earth. The people, the places, the things. Lots of love. Thanks for tuning in.
Magic. You are magic. You are magic. The magic inside you has never left you. It has never left you. It has never left you. you feel the call?
Do you hear the call?
Magic is the gateway between the realms. Magic is the energy of your soul. Magic brings surprises, creation, and healing with it. Magic is a magnetic energy. It amplifies and multiplies and calls you forward. It connects us to each other. Can you feel the call? Will you heed the call? When you allow magic through your energy field, it affects everyone and everything, and reaches back into the ancestry lines of this planet, healing, changing, alchemizing, and generating life force, past and future. The life force that exists all around you in the seen and the unseen. Magic calls us forward into our collective and individual destiny. Allowing your magic is the gateway to a more heartfelt and alive life. Will you allow yourself to remember? You are magic. And now you remember. You need never forget